A very good evening to you all. Welcome to this campaign for a very important cause, which is menstruation and its aspects. American poet Judy Grant once said, I quote, "Menstrual blood is the only source of blood that is not traumatically induced. Yet, in modern society, this is the most hidden blood, the one so rarely spoken of and almost never seen, except privately by women," unquote. We as resolvers, our primary objective is to nurture and inculcate in future leaders who are grounded, passionate, kind empathizers, critical thinkers, problem solvers with the urge to support each other with passion for social, emotional, cultural, and moral well-being, harboring no disagreement. All right, now let's begin with Taru. So I'll be handing it over to Taruka to brief you about menstruation and its aspects. Over to you, Taru.
Thank you, Tarisha. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing amazing and staying safe. So our topic today is menstruation and its aspects. So what is menstruation? Menstruation, although painful and uncomfortable, is a natural process which prepares women to a future mother and a caregiver. It is an innate process which cannot be forsaken. It should be understood with much vigilance and perception. A menstrual cycle begins with the first day of your period or menstruation and starts over again when the next period begins. Throughout a monthly menstrual cycle, your body makes different amounts of chemicals called hormones to prepare you for pregnancy. These fluctuating hormone levels can cause menstrual symptoms. And a menstrual cycle often changes as a woman grows older. And a standard cycle lasts between 24 and 38 days. So that is it from my end. Back to you, Thari.
Thank you, Taru. That was a wonderful explanation. All right. Now we'll be looking at some of our resolvers' opinions. And okay. All right, there will be a media shared to you guys of Dhananjani's and Dilki's thoughts on menstruation.
So, hi guys, my name is Silky, and today let's talk about periods. Yes, periods. Say it with me. Periods. Well, so it's that time of the month where females have to smuggle this out of their bag as if it's some kind of drug that we're handling. So, my fellow female friends out there, ever come across this experience where you tell somebody, "I'm on my periods," and they're like, "Shh, don't say it out loud, somebody will hear." Well, same girl, I feel you. But so what? It's a biological cycle that all women have to go through and we have no control over it. Well, society nowadays had made periods such a hush-hush topic which had even resulted in females not knowing their biological anatomy. So, let's take a step forward as society and normalize all these period talks so that anybody can talk about these things much more freely than they already can. Well, anyway, I hope you have a great day.
Okay, and now we have to warmly welcome our special guest, Nadisha Paulis. Nadisha Paulis is a writer, a journalist, a content creator, a sustainability advocate. Most remarkably, Nadisha is an activist who raises her voice about menstruation and related concepts. She is also the founder of Happy Bleeding, in which she spreads awareness about the importance of using reusable sanitary products. Moreover, she has been engaging with events and writing blogs and that inspires people to break the stigma regarding menstruation. Her digital contents and the awareness programs educate the community about sustainable periods, menstruation hygiene, safe sex, reproduction education, menstrual pollution, and the ways to overcome them. In a nutshell, Nadisha strives for a positive change in the society by talking about menstruation proactively with courage. Over to you, Nadisha.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, it is so, so beautiful for me to see you. I'm so proud of you guys. I am inspired. Thank you so much for inspiring me. I love seeing this type of conversation. It is beautiful. Yeah, you gave me a really nice introduction. But I have been talking about periods actively, persistently, and almost to the point it's annoying. But I am not going to stop because I don't think enough people are talking about it. So I'm really glad you guys joined in this conversation. Why do we have to talk about periods so much? Because 50%, over 50% of the world's population has a period, and yet sorry guys, can you see me?
We can see you, Nandi.
Awesome. Just checking. But yeah, so because it's just we what your previous member said, we always have this, this hangang duana scene, like, we have to hide this thing, right? But why? Like oh, sorry, by the way guys, is it okay if I switch like between English and Sinhala? Can everybody understand Sinhala? I hope that's okay, because it's sometimes nice at a bokkemma, when it comes in English, it's it's nice, you know what I mean? So yeah, so we're going to talk about this. No restraints, no what do you call censoring. It's all in today. All right. So I welcome questions, and any time of the session, please just drop it all in the chat box, and I will get to them at the end of it. Can we switch the next slide, please? So, yeah, okay. So this is the biggest thing about periods. I mean, everybody gets it, right? All females get a period, but there's such a lot of like myths around it. What is a myth? Myth is something that is not based on scientific fact, right? And we are grown, like we grow up with it. I don't know about you guys. I have had that thing, mommy school. I got my period when I was at school, right? So I was put like a white cloth on my head. Has that happened to you guys? It's so weird, right? I was shitting my pants. I did not know what was going on. I mean, I knew at the time, so many of my other friends have already had this, and it was so weird. I don't know if that's the same. I mean, how many? There are about 29 participants here. Are all of them female? Or there are men as well, boys as well? Oh, lovely. That's great. That's great, because I want this to be a conversation that happens, even at home with your parents, with your siblings. Sometimes, like when I'm in period pain, like I'm like, oh ma, I'll tell my aunt, oh, it's hurting, and my aunt will be like, hey, shoo, your brother is here. I said, excuse me, my brother needs to know. That's how the very reason he's there is because somebody had a period, right? My mother, namely. You know what I mean? So this is something we always again, I think somebody mentioned this before as well. We are so used to seeing like so much of violence, right? If you switch on a video game, if you switch on Instagram, TVs, movies, all of that, we are seeing blood everywhere, right? So much violence. And yet when it's a period, which is blood that is born out of non-violence, right? And we are so scared of it. Oh my god, don't talk about it. It should not be the case. I have here some interesting images. I don't know if you know about this. Do you see this girl in this little hut here? So that's a period hut in Nepal. You might think, Sri Lanka, we have such a lot of taboos, this, that, and the other. But in Nepal, when a child gets their period every month, starting from the first time, they are asked to go away from the house and live in this shed. Can you imagine? And Nepal is a cold country, right? There have been so many number of deaths of young girls and women because they have been banished from their house because they are impure, and that's how bad the misconception of periods are. and you might have even heard, don't go to this temple. When I was small, I remember I was doing a Shramadana in the iskole, like the Buddha place we have. And suddenly I was wiping the Lord Buddha statue, and a teacher said, are you on your period? I said, yeah, miss, why? No, then don't touch the Buddha statue. I got like, I thought I was committing some crime. I thought I was committing some crime, but this is so bad, right? So that was how I grew up. I don't know how you have been taught about to understand periods, but we're going to do some unlearning, some deep-rooted unlearning that all of us, including me, I'm 29 years old, that I had to do to be more at home with my body. Can we go to the next slide, please? So yeah, exactly. So the first myth we're going to be debunking is this whole periods are dirty, periods are impure. Oh my gosh. Let's try to debunk this, right? What is a period actually? What period blood is that which gives life to a human baby. That is the beginning of all of us. We were all nourished by period blood at some point during, well, not at some point, technically 9 months. So why is it that, we think of this as bad? It is not bad. But something I've noticed is if you're used to using a pad, sometimes it might start smelling after a couple of hours, and you might get a smell. But that is because all blood, like other things like flesh, blood, all of that, they are made of organic matter, right? And they are going to decompose and oxidize at some point, which is going to cause a certain odor. Just because there is odor there, that means it's just that bacteria is working on it, right? It's not that, your body is ejecting bad stuff, bad toxic matter from your body. No, toxic matter is not period blood. It is just the blood that would have otherwise nurtured a baby inside of your body. Because it did not get fertilized, there is no baby, and therefore the body slowly kind of lets it go out. And this cycle happens every month. And for me, I think it's such a beautiful thing. Yes, because it is so painful, we sometimes forget it. But something I remember when my mother said, when I got my first period, is, Nadisha, you think if a man got a period, what would he do? What would the boy do? What would your brother do? My brother and my mother said, he'll fall flat. He'll fall faint with the sheer pressure of it all, And as women, I think it's such an empowering thing. I always picture, I wonder if you guys had seen that movie 300, where that guy like pushes like a bunch of people in like, this is Sparta. So I feel like that, like, this is my body. It's so painful. It is so painful. I have friends who, roll on the ground painful, right? But still it's such a beautiful process, and this little bit of hopefully learning will help us see it that way. The bleeding womb, which you deem dirty, is where we all take birth. Nothing else has the power to create life. I mean, see how beautiful that is. I sometimes, let's just like hug myself and be like, oh, I'm so grateful for the stuff the things that this body has undergone, Sometimes it's just crazy. We put so much pressure on this body that does so much for us, So yeah, that is the basis of period blood being dirty or impure. That's why they say, oh, don't go to the temple, don't like that example of me washing the Buddha statue, right? That is where it comes from. It has no basis in science, but you should be proud and you should be feeling empowered that you do get your period. Because why? Some people actually, due to various illnesses like PCOS or endometriosis, which are illnesses well, we can't call it an illness, it's just that a kind of a process which makes the period so much more uncomfortable. They do not get their period, so we should not take this monthly flower, as some indigenous cultures call it, as a take it for granted. Can we go to the can we go to the next slide, please? So yeah, this is why. So because it is blood, let's be honest, it is blood, we do have to maintain good personal hygiene. That means, something I was told when I was young, when I just got my period, my aunt used to say, here, don't bathe. Right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has been told that, but this is something my aunt told me. I'm like, oh, but I can't, like, I don't know. I think maybe like I can't stay without bathing, at least bathing as in showering once a day, But the reason why that is I asked my aunt, actually I asked it then, why can't I bathe? My aunt is like all, worried and all. Don't you know, a period, like the period stops when you bathe. But actually, the scientific reason behind why that stops, it actually pauses. It's due to the pressure difference of outside the body and inside the body. So I remember one of my friends, she used to swim. So during her period, she would just not wear anything and swim. And Tagala making Eliara pass slap her pad in the panty, and just she'll be like, I was like, oh, why period doesn't? No, when you're in the water, period doesn't come. That's the reason why, right? You should not bathe. You should have always, and clean underwear, and you should also try to change your pad every at least 3 to 4 to 5 pads per day, and it is perfectly fine. So don't let anybody know or tell you not to bathe or maintain hygiene. Could we go to the next slide? This is a very interesting one, right? This is a very, very interesting one. This is a very interesting one. Tampons and period cups will ruin your virginity. This is like a massive one. My God. I remember even my mother, so her mother, my grandmother used to ask her not to ride the bicycle. Can you imagine that? I mean, I think riding a bicycle is one of the most sweetest memories of being a child. And my mother was asked not to ride a bicycle. And this is because of this wretched hymen, right? And we're going to get to the facts of it, right? I know there are 35 people here, and all of us really, really need to debunk this sacred thing called this hymen, all right? So can you see what I'm showing right now? This is right here is a tampon. Can you see this? Yeah, as a tampon. It could come in a cover like this. You kind of open it, and this is the tampon. This is inserted inside your vulva. All right, as well as this nice, neat, cute little instrument, which I'm going to be explaining in a little bit. But because of this whole hymen katava, we aren't able to use this type of thing, right? So we are going to get into why this is what this hymen is. I'm going to use an example right here with a cream bottle of mine and some wool bands. All right, what we're going to do is, this is actually what happens. We think of this hymen as this, like a seal. Oh my God, like something that breaks, and everything is lost after that. Oh my dear gosh, how is that possible? I'll get you to the facts. This hymen, you can see several types of hymens here in this photograph. That's how all of our bodies at one point would have looked like, and still do. Is this, there's actually no scientific reason why this flap of skin is there. There is no reason for it, right? And some people, women, girls, females, are not born with it. Can you imagine that? This thing that we think, oh my God, my virginity, my all of this, my all of that, it is not even existing in your body, right? So how do we know? So why that is, okay, we have a thing. I have a swimmer in school. Let me see what feedback I was a swimmer in school. People used to look at me funny when I wore a tampon. And my mom said, don't people, oh, this is interesting. Saw that. That is insane. I did listen though. I told everyone I wore one. Perfect. Atta girl, do it, do it, do it. I know sometimes we do have to do a few things that our mothers and our elders might frown upon, right? But I am always saying, if you know it deep within your heart to be true and right and good, by all means, please continue it, please pursue it. So I'm just going to show you what this hymen, this mirror, oh my God, this hymen thing is. This hymen is actually, rather than something like, okay, I'm looking for a piece of polythene or something. I don't have any polythene with me. Rather than it being this thing that you can puncture through, it is actually a flap of skin that can be stretched like so. Yeah. So, and some people don't even have it, right? Some people, as you can see in this image here, has like, there is no hole in it, which actually makes it, that is unfortunate incident where you actually have to have it surgically made, because there is no place for the period blood to flow out, as well as a penis to be inserted for penetrative sex. So, and it's quite uncomfortable actually, you know, and it can lead to a lot of health issues. So we do have to surgically remove it. But that being said, so I actually honestly don't know what my hymen would have looked like. You know, I don't know if anybody knows what our hymen looks like. You know, it's kind of gross looking when you look at it from here, but you know, everybody has a unique one. So you'll be very proud of what you're having. Then we come back to this whole thing about, you know, using a period cup or a tampon when it comes to your hymen, right? Again, if you look at this thing about virginity, right, or having sex for the first time, I don't even like this word virgin. You know, it's you know, losing your virginity, ruining your virginity, as though it's something that, you know, you are losing, like you lose your self-worth as soon as you have sex for the first time. You know, I don't believe that. If at all you gain something, you gain certain knowledge about yourself, you know, it's just a different way of looking at it, you know. But I don't believe that my self-worth, that your self-worth is based on a tiny flap of skin, which may or may not exist in your body. It is not based on that, right? So the first time you have sex, if you perhaps, maybe you have a partner, right, or maybe, I remember actually there was an instant where I was talking about the period cup and somebody came and asked me, what about the virginity, what about the hymen? And I explained to them, you know, there's no such thing as a hymen. It's actually, some people might have it, some people might not have it. It's a flap of skin and all of that. And they said, but oh my God, I'm worried though, but what if my mother-in-law, you know, asks about it? And I said, okay, do you have a boyfriend? And she said, no, I don't have a boyfriend. So can you see how scared women are to think of a hypothetical mother-in-law? One day in the future, you don't even have a boyfriend, but you're still worried about what somebody, a mother-in-law, would tell you about your self-worth. My thing is, if a man is worried about your hymen and your losing virginity, that man is not for you. If a man bases your self-worth on a piece of skin, piece of flappy skin in your body, that man should not be worthy of your acquaintances. You know what I mean? Because how do we know if a man is a virgin or not? That's a good question. Huh? We can ask them. We should ask them. You know, this is a very simple question. Have you had sex before? If it's your partner, you know, and they can ask you right back, and you can say yes or no, depending if at all, even if you want to say yes or no, that's totally up to you. But how can something that may or may not exist, it's like a mythical fairy tale, no, fairy creature in your, with you, we may or may not have. So there is absolutely no way that the hymen can base your, you know, self-worth. You may or may not have one. So if you actually, how do we get our parents, how do we get people we love to understand this process? You know, this concept of a hymen has been so so ingrained into our system, through generations and generations of actually uneducation of not knowing the scientific basis behind this. Even like there are gynecologists in Sri Lanka who go on TV and say this. So that's like gynecologists are actually, even they are people of science, and they also perpetuate it based on these notions that we have, So, and it's very sad. So I'm really glad the 32 people here at this point today, from now onwards, will not keep some, so your self-worth on this thing called this fairy tale called the hymen, right? If you want to make a decision to use a tampon or a period cup, you need to ask yourself, is this good for my body? Those are the decisions you probably need to ask, right? Is the tampon or the period cup good for me? Does it make my life easier? Is it making my other decisions, my life, is it making easier? It's not that, some mother-in-law in the future or my boyfriend or whatever thinking or asking about virginity and all of that. That should not be the basis of you asking the question about, because see, this is about your health, right? This is about your menstrual hygiene. And you need to take ownership of what you decide, because it's your body after all, right? And if your mother or somebody close, of course we always want to kind of share what we're going through with our mother. She's our most, I would say, like the most dearest person in our life in a way. If we want to do that, we do have to kind of take them through this journey of awareness. So for example, once I started talking about this, and I've been on like national television, Jatika Rupawahini, talking about this period cup, I had to sit my aunt down. My mother is more open-minded, she's progressive, all of that, she knows about this. I had to sit my aunt down, and I took her through all of these videos. There are so many doctors, so many TED Talks and all this, through explaining this thing about the hymen, and she understood it. So there is a chance for our parents also to unlearn what they have been learning possibly for 40, 50 years almost, So there is some chance. So take that chance, I would say. All right. Sorry, I have some comments here. Let me see what they were. I went through the same situation when I first started using a period cup. Everyone's first question, oh my God, what about your virginity? Love it. And take that opportunity to really, educate somebody. I think that's a very, very radical thing to do. But when I mean radical, there are good things and bad things that you can do, as far as being radical. But like I said, again, if it's good for you, if it's good for your body, if it's good for the environment, that decision is totally up to you. Swimming was really funny, actually. Everyone was like, ew, you're getting in the pool, rolling my eyes now. Yeah, Stehani, yeah. For me, all my elders advise saying, when you get your periods, the thing you need to help it flow, that object should never go in. You just should be in the surface. Oh yeah, that's unfortunate, ne? Because see, can I tell you something? This period cup has been there for 80 years. 80 years, can you imagine? It didn't come 5-10 years ago. 80 years. It was the tampon and the period cup were actually invented. Tampon and the period cup actually invented along the same time. But marketeers and companies and brands choose to market the pad and the tampon as opposed to the period cup, because can anybody guess why that is? Can anybody guess why? Think of it in the sense of this you use for 10 years and this you need to keep buying every month. What would a brand want? What would a company want from you? Money, money, money. You're going to be spending more on this because they are not reusable, and they are going to be, buying it every month instead of something like this. Or this is a cloth pad. We're going to get into all of this in a little bit. Yes, and next, displaying or buying pads is humiliating, shameful. Thamath අපේ තියෙනවානේ where we have to, cover the pad packet in like bags and, brown paper and bring it. Whereas a puberty party, like big girl party, wow, 200 people straight away. Hotel Safari, 200 people dinner party, right? I mean, can you imagine that? Personally, this could be debatable, but personally, I really like that we celebrate our first period, our first menstruation. I think it's a beautiful thing. And actually, a lot of the Eastern values that we have on it have been kind of misinterpreted into some weird random things right now, right? Actually, being a woman, I think changing your body from a girl to a woman who can birth life, I think it should be celebrated, but not in the way where we celebrate it today, but we have to cover our pad in a paper bag and hide it and go. I remember when I was school, I don't know if you girls, any females here have done it. I used to lift up my frock and sit on the chair because I used to go for, I was in an all girls school, but I went to tuition class where there were boys as well. So I was very ashamed, like, oh my God, stay in all of that. I used to lift it was like, I'm not ashamed to admit it right now, but at that point I was extremely humiliated, right? I felt so ashamed because stay katai, dirty, shy, lajjai. But why? This girl, Kiran Gandhi, ran the London Marathon while she was menstruating. Can you believe it? In the London Marathon, there are 10,000 people running, and she was one of them. She actually came in top 3. She didn't use any pads, right? She just let the period blood flow as it is. If you zoom a little bit closer, you might see her pants are stained. Her pants are stained. I mean, can you believe that? And she got in third place also. Like, people can go fly a kite, go shame, or this or that, It's like, so never feel bad about your period. It's the most beautiful kind of biological thing next to actually giving birth to another human being that is happening in your body. So never feel shame. What can we do to support menstruators near us? Now, this is a very, very important, valid thing. I think, like, for example, when you're at school, college, maybe office, being more understanding. Sometimes when somebody's like, I don't know if you notice in this Olympics also, right? There were so many athletes. There were a number of incidents like where athletes had been just like collapsed like this. They had done their thing and they had come back to the bench and just collapsed because they had been on their period. So being a little bit more understanding, being helpful, being supportive, because for some people, so some girls, some women, periods can be extremely painful. It's like your internal like bladders and these things are like wrung, like straight up wrung inside you. I think that would be like a very close like interpretation of what you're feeling. Just being understanding and not saying because that's what I was told. Like when I was young, I know it happens, okay, fine, like the more you complain, the more it's not going to be better. That's the type of attitude that we had in our household. Just this thing. But actually, for now, like for example, I work at a company where I just if I am having my periods that day, I just send them a Slack message, guys, I'm unable to work, can I please take off? And they're not even it's not even a debating of debate, and we are so open with that. So for example, officers allowing leave and off days for when people are undergoing this would be like a really good thing to this thing. Sorry, could you go to the previous one again? I just want to add a small thing for the boys, for the males in the society. I understand that you will not probably relate to this, but that's something that you can be very helpful. If you see that one of your peers, your friends are going through something, try to make it better. I actually have a friend, he keeps, can you imagine, guess this, he keeps a pad in his backpack at all times if anybody wants it. and that's the level that he is, so he does not go through it naturally. He's a man, he's a male, he does not go through it, but he keeps this pad with his in his bag, and he always, just being thoughtful like that, if somebody's not to shame them, not to laugh at them, to really understand. I think that's a really wonderful addition, like a way we can bond as human beings. Yes, we can go to the next slide. And speaking of pads, right? I know it is at the moment the most used form of managing our periods. However, there is a small problem. And what is this? It is that this, like a lot of the other things we use, does not biodegrade. So I've made a little bit of math. I'm horrible at math, so I had to use a calculator for this. But assume I had to use 3 pads a day, 5 days per month, right? And remember that sometimes, obviously, people will use more pads, or sometimes people will bleed for more than 5 days a month. 12 months per year, that's about 180 pads per year. So a woman on average will bleed for 35 years in your life. So for example, if you start at 15, you will go until 45, 50, until your menstruation stops. So that's 6,300 pads. That's a lot of pads. That's a lot of waste and a lot of money. Next slide, please. Something that we don't know about these pads also is that 1 pad is equal to 4 plastic bags. And can you imagine then how many pads, how many plastic bags we're using in this? See, something we don't again realize is that it's white, right? This pad is white. It has a lot of bleach in it. We don't realize it, but bleach is naturally not good for our body, So in an environmental sense and in a bodily sense, these pads are actually, although we do have to use it at this point because we don't have a lot of access to other products, is we need to, it's kind of not great for us. It can't be recycled. It ends up in landfills. This image you see on the left side is actually a pad floating in the, what was it? Anuradhapure, there's a lake, and it was an image of a pad floating in the lake. This man is in Nepal. He is trying to unclog a toilet pit. That is not something that none of us would want to do, but somebody had to do it because of this waste. And here on the right, you will see just a garbage dump where, not just pads, but a lot of other things have been collected. That's another thing, right? See, we use this pad, but after that, what happens to the pad? Right, we chuck it. I've tried everything. I've tried ripping it and flushing it, and then toilets clogged. I've tried burning it, and it just becomes like this chopified this thing. And I've tried burying it, and always a dog will come and dig it up, and the pads are all over the countryside. Right? It is just matanang sansare paveno, as they say. Try to manage this, but that's why. Could we go to the next slide, please? We have some fantastic solutions that are there. I just spoke about one of them now, my favorite. I have been using this for about 5 years. And we have this also. So a lot of my friends who have used this is a, a cloth pad. It's good. Some of my friends have used it and they really like it. It's so comfortable. It doesn't rashes in there. I remember wearing pads. It was horrible. It's like crazy. But then we also have period panties, which are actually, guess where the technology for absorbent material came from? Sri Lanka. Yes, we make the period panties that we send to America, but actually at the moment we don't have a market as such in Sri Lanka for period panties. But yeah, that's about it. I thank you so much for listening. Can I have questions? Please, I love questions. Do we have any minutes to take some questions, or am I on time? I think I am. I started at 5:10. It is 5:40 for 35 minutes. I think my math is really bad, but it's okay. Don't worry.
Amazing.
amazingly fine. We will definitely have a Q&A round because we are in the
Okay.
process of gathering all the questions that are coming in.
Perfect.
So we will get into the question round for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Could you show the last slide on my presentation? That's something I wanted to show you guys, if possible. This is guess what this is? It's one of I've also tried doing this because I can collect my period blood in this cup. Guess what this beautiful painting is made out of? That's right, period blood. These are called period paintings, and females around the world have found a lot of creativity, empowerment, love for themselves and their bodies through the art of drawing with your period blood. And that is how I want to stop my part of the presentation. Thank you guys so much. I'm here for the rest of it, so we can have the FAQ afterwards.
All right. Thank you so much, Nadisha. Wow, those were some insightful words of yours. Nadisha will be joining us in a few minutes for a Q&A session, guys. So, all right. Now, there's another video put together by our resolver, Chamira, which we'll play in right now.
Periods are a time of bleeding that most girls and women have once a month. It's also known as menstruation, and it's completely normal. Most girls will first experience it around the age of 9 to 14. Let's look inside the body to see what changes cause it to occur. This is the female reproductive system, the parts of the body used to have sex and involved in producing a baby. It is made up of the giant uterus, sometimes called the wound, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. The ovaries hold thousands of tiny eggs, but usually only one egg will be released each month. The egg will travel down one of the two fallopian tubes and into the uterus. The inner side of the uterus will also become thicker around this time. If the woman does not have sex with a man, then the egg is no longer needed and the inner side of the uterus will break down to become thinner. This material will flow out of the vagina as blood. That process is called a period. The bleeding usually lasts for 3 to 7 days. So how should you manage your period? You can use pads or tampons available at your local supermarket or pharmacy to soak up. The bleeding pad can stick to your underwear. These should be changed every 3 or 4 hours to avoid the blood sitting in the pad for too long, which might cause a smell. Tampons are used differently. They are inserted into the vagina and later pulled out using the string. Tampons should be changed every 3 or 4 hours because there is a risk of infection. If you leave it in for too long, both pads and tampons must be thrown into the bin after each use. You should never try to flush them down the toilet. What can you do when you have your period? You can continue with all your daily activities. When you have your period, including work and exercise, it's perfectly fine to wash your body during this time, and there is no need to wash deep inside your vagina. How do you feel when you get your period? Sometimes you may feel sad. This is due to hormonal changes happening in your body. If it becomes a problem, speak to your doctor for advice during your period. You might also feel some tightness below your stomach. This is normal, and it is safe to use some types of medication for light pain relief. If, however, you're feeling a lot of pain, this may not be normal, so you should speak to your doctor. Finally, when will you stop having your period permanently? Women will usually stop having the period between the ages of 45 to 60. This is called menopause, and it means they will soon no longer be able to produce a baby. Remember, having your period is completely normal, and it's not something you should be alarmed about as long as you manage it with good hygiene and notify your doctor. If you're feeling unwell, it won't stop you from living life.
All right. Now we have another video on board by Gayat, Sandali, and Vismini. They will be expressing their views and some queries on the topic.
Hi. First, I would like to thank the members who initiated this project, and they are the resolvers from Epic University. I believe this would help everyone to raise their questions and create an awareness to the rest of the people who don't have the knowledge about menstruation and its aspects. I would like to ask a few questions. These are some of the questions that I was able to hear from others and see on the internet too. The questions are: why women or the girls aren't allowed to go to the temple or to the cemetery when they are experiencing menstruation? Why aren't they allowed to cook or eat with others during menstruation? Why are the parents aren't educating their children related to periods? Is it because they are embarrassed to speak out with their child? The children don't know what's happening or what needs to be done if one of his friends who's a girl going through periods. As a result, they would think this is bad and not good to help and they will walk away. Why can't the teachers in school who are well qualified and having masters or even PhDs simply explain about menstruation? Are they shy to explain, or is there any other reason? This is 21st century, and why people are still bringing these menstrual taboos over and over again and put women down? Why can't we simply stop this, support women and move forward?
Periods, pads. Yes, I said it out loud. Most of the menstruating people I've came across has this attitude of embarrassment towards it. We are ashamed to ask for a sanitary product, and we are almost ashamed to carry one around. I think we need to talk freely about it and be more educated about menstrual hygiene.
Periods is something we rarely talk about. Is it something to be ashamed of? Or is it disgusting and dirty? No, it is just a natural biological event. In fact, it's a sign of good health and must be normalized and celebrated. Menstruation is not dirty. It's a sign of good health.
Okay, now we'll be moving on to our Q&A session, which will be conducted by Hasina and Sayuni. Nadisha will be joining us.
That was such a nice presentation. Just FYI, I love that the I can't remember his name, Chamira, did that presentation. I think it's very sweet, and I love to hear men's and boys' voices in this area, asking, questioning, challenging the status quo. So kudos to that. But yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Tavisha, and thank you, Nadisha, for the insightful presentation again. We have some questions put together by Gayat. I think you saw them, and I'd like to voice them out for him. Nadisha, could you explain to us why aren't women allowed to go? Now, these are mythical-based questions, myth-based questions, and why aren't women allowed to go to the temple or the cemetery or cook or eat with others during menstruation? Is there a scientific background to this?
There's definitely no scientific background. I think like 500 years ago, women, like this blood was like equated to something dirty, something disgusting, right? Without really, I told you like that, like in Nepal and all that, young girls are asked to leave their houses and go. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that our like even in our culture, we are asked not to go to the temple. We are asked not to, you know, even do religious thing, faith-based activities during your period. That gives such a, there is no scientific basis in it. It is only purely cultural. And that's something that we can change, you know. See, what happens is like, even when like, what happens when you said, oh, Pansalate Annepa, don't go to the temple, this and that. What is our perception of our body? Oh, I'm dirty during these 4-5 days, right? And that is actually far from the truth. That's actually the exact opposite. You are creating, like, the blood within you is what creates life. So how can it be like we need to turn the tables, because that is fact, you know? But yeah, that's the thing. So by talking about this, like even at home, I'm so glad, like I hope all 36 of us can initiate conversation, especially the boys and men. Ask your parents, why mama, why can't I talk about this? What? Chi, yeah, no. But why? It's true, no? Isn't it where the reproduct, like this, like the a baby comes from, not like because somebody had a period some time ago, right? So please challenge the status quo, and we can hopefully change this. It'll take some time, but it is through discussions like this and awareness that we can really change it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that. And then there's a question as to why aren't parents educating their children related to periods? Is that because they're embarrassed to speak out with their child, or is there any other reason, do you think? And sorry.
No, continue the question. Sorry, was that one question? Okay,
I have another question related. So yeah.
Okay, so what happened? I think it's a mixture of not knowing, that is in education, like they're not educated enough, as well as embarrassment. You know, anything to do with the females reproductive system is considered like, oh, like people don't use. Can any of us 36 people at this point go home and tell our mother or father, use the word sex in the same room with our mother and father? I can see Hasina just giggling to herself, like there's no way in hell, right? And that is that thing, but which is so sad, because all of us are here, including our mother and father, because somebody had sex, right? So this is that thing, you know, and that, like, I'll give you an example. So for example, there have been instances where husband and wife, the husband didn't know what the period was about the wife. He just knew that I can't have sex with my wife for this couple of days in the month. He did know what this menstrual process was. You see how disconnected we are with our bodies, with our human experience of our bodies, right? And that is extremely problematic. That was actually told to me by a gynecologist friend of mine. I don't think I'm not very sure if it was in Colombo, but outskirts. But that is how grave, how dire the situation is, and that we need to change this, because if we don't, we are going to have more problems. We are going to have kids, young girls suffering throughout their school time, in so much anxiety, sadness, shame, fear, and utmost even pain. A lot of the times, like even like parents will say, whereas sometimes the child could actually be going through some illnesses related to the vagina, such as, or rather the menstruation process, such as endometriosis or PCOS, which we can't just diagnose at home. We need to go to a doctor, speak with them, and kind of diagnose that thing. So we need to really speak about it. If any of you are having extremely painful periods, and when I mean extremely painful, you can't stand up, you can't sit down, you can't go ahead with your normal day-to-day work, and not maybe just during the first day. Sometimes first day it's really hard, and the second day it kind of is okay. If that is so, you need to speak to a doctor, okay, and get that medical help. This thing. Another thing is actually something I notice is for females especially, we need to exercise. We need to have a good diet. We need to drink a lot of water, and we need to exercise. Exercising during and outside your period really helps with the pain. But yeah, next question. Did I answer that? I think I'm okay.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And there's this other thing where we'd like to know, what do gynecologists recommend using for hygiene during periods, and should the inside of the vagina be washed?
This is very interesting. Have you noticed in the news, like in the TV and all that, are even the hygiene washers? Nobody. I think I'm not a gynecologist, I'm not a doctor. Any gynecologist will discourage you from using anything but water down there. Why we say that is, our vagina has a particular pH balance, a natural pH balance, which actually removes, because it is an opening, right? It is an opening in our body. It has a natural mechanism of combating bacteria, of removing unwanted bacteria. It has a nice, because we do, like, our bodies do need a certain level of bacteria. So the vagina is capable of doing that on its own. We don't need to add anything. Just water is fine. No soap, not even mild soap, right? You can just wash your, like in between your legs with some soap, that's fine, but not inside the opening, because it is actually harmful. So do not use anything but water when you're washing.
Awesome. Thank you. And also, can you prevent the odors during periods using a feminine hygiene deodorant? And also,
no. Don't even say that. Like, okay, and see, remember this odor, what it is bacteria acting upon the blood, right? Bacteria acting upon the blood. So if we actually change, if you're wearing pads, change it frequently. My love of the period cup is because it is so convenient. It does not smell. See, because the period cup is inside your vagina, there is no contact with the outside, the oxidation process. It does not it does not smell at all. So no, do not use anything except water. But again, this thing is, please, if you would like to give a try to find some of these these alternative sustainable options, do give it a try, because the period cup and all that, I think in all ways, I think it's a really nice invention. Failing which, the period pads, the cloth pads. So, and of course, when you're using the cloth pads, you need to wash it and put it in sunlight, direct sunlight, and iron it even, so that you get rid of the bacteria. But yeah.
awesome. Also, my final question for you. If you use a pad for the night, say, and sleep for about 8 hours, should you get up every 4 hours to change it, or can it stay overnight?
I'm going to give a very practical solution to this and go with a no. There's no way, like, a lot of us are going to wake up every 4 hours and do this. I know it's not great, it's not this thing, but there's no way we're going to do that. I remember like wearing the pad, and like it would like choppa vela churu vela have like it goes all over the countryside, and then like I wake up in the morning, like there's blood on my pants, there's blood on my mattress, all of that. But actually the period cup, again, I'm gonna be like a marketeer for the period cup, and I'm gonna talk about it as though I invented it. I didn't. It was there for 8 years. Is that you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry with the period cup, because the oxidization process again does not happen. So it's inside the body, and there's no oxygen, because our sour, like the odor and all that comes for the pad, because it's outside, and there is a higher chance of bacteria to grow on the pad and in any other this thing. But yeah, it's not practical that we wake up every 4 hours and change the pad, unfortunately. So I'm going to go with a no.
Thanks so much. And that was super insightful, and I loved this session with you. I'd like to pass this to Sayuni. I'm sure she has some interesting questions also.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Hazina. So I have a set of questions to ask from Nadesha, but I'll just keep it to 2 questions because we are running out of time. So the first question is, are reusable and washable cloth pads are sanitary?
Are sanitary?
Yes, it is sanitary.
Because see, the process is, I don't know if you notice this, the sunlight, UV rays is actually a bacteria, it kills bacteria. Right? So if you, for example, if you would like to go to the additional step of it, you can even wash it with boiling water. Once you're done with one pad, you can wash it with boiling water. A lot of the people just chuck it in the washing machine. There's no big issue as such, as long as you really dry it in the sunlight, because remember, the sun is a bacteria killer. It's the UV rays, it's something we don't really we take it for granted because we don't think about it, right? But yeah, you can do that. But with the period cup, you have to boil it, because one thing is you insert it, and at boiling temperatures, naturally no bacteria can survive water at boiling temperatures, which is why we boil it and then insert it. Yeah.
Okay. And the last question is, do you suggest any methods to cope up with mood swings during periods?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, no? Like I keep thinking, oh my God, as a woman, as a girl, I have to go to work or school or whatever assignments, all of that. And then I have to have my like body disintegrating inside me, like churning, like a machine churning, and I'm like splurting blood. And on top of that, because of the hormonal changes, my mood sucks. So it's actually very difficult like situation to be in. I think just try to be kind to yourself, during that time. If you have to work, just give yourself a break. I know it's a lot to ask, and sometimes like maybe your employer or your teacher will not understand, but it's your, like, if you're in pain and if you're in this unnecessary like moods, you need to take a break, and do something you like. Maybe read a book, maybe get some sleep, maybe eat a snack you like, like some ice cream or some cake or whatever. Just soothe yourself, and maybe even take a hot water shower if you can, like boil some water even and take a shower. But more importantly, something I noticed is it really helps your moods also if you exercise. If you at least exercise for half an hour a day, maybe do some like yoga or that. If your body is if you are in a lot of pain during your period, you don't have to. But what I mean is, on the other days, this is exercise element is something we are all lacking. Like I think throughout, people are not bothered about it. If you can have some tea and let go of your period pain, you do it. But we won't do the exercising, right, on the other days. So if we need to do at least half an hour of just fast walking, even fast walking until you sweat from your like forehead and your belly. I think that's the biggest advice that I can give anybody, as well as a balanced diet. Eat your fruits, guys, please. Everybody eat fruits, eat greens, eat like less sugar is better, right? Less sugar is always better, because all of these really, your body is such a complicated mess of things that all of these really actually do take a part in your anatomy, right? So being healthy, I think, will really ease a lot of the mood swings and the pain that comes with periods. But again, on your period, just be kind to yourself. You're a human being. Your body's doing such a lot during that time, so just take it easy. Be kind to yourself.
Thank you so much, Nadisha. That's it from my end. I think I personally learned a lot about menstruation, and I think everyone else did as well. So I thank you again, and hand controls back to Tavisha.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope this discussion helped everyone here. And now we have Dhananjani explaining about hormonal changes of women and men during menstruation. Over to you, Dana.
Thank you, Tavisha. We had a great session with Nadisha. It's very useful. And as we discussed, it's all about actually we should know about our hormonal changes inside our body also, because it's important to know this wonderful biological process. So I would like to take you through these hormonal changes inside men and women, mostly women during menstruation. This menstruation happens from age at 12 to 50 or 60, and every 28 days we go through this whole process, and it's a cycle. We call it menstruation cycle, a cyclic process associated with reproductive system in sexually matured females. Inside our body, we have hormones called FSH, LH, and these hormones actually under the FSH releasing by pituitary, a primary follicle inside our ovary develops a Graafian follicle. I would like to divide this process to two, because there are changes that take place in ovary and uterus. So I would like to go first with ovary. In Graafian follicle, it takes to develop 14 days in this 28 days. So during this process, it releases a hormone called estrogen. So once a Graafian follicle is matured enough, it bursts out, and the ovarium inside it released from the ovary to the body. Then the the ovum is taken to the fallopian tube and it's go through this fallopian tube to the uterus. In this process, once it is not fertilized, then the Graafian follicle is changed to the corpus luteum. So in this process, it takes another 14 days and it releases progesterone within this process. So this estrogen I talked before, it helps to build the new cell layer and blood capillaries inside the uterus, and the progesterone helps to thickens the walls and the blood supply also. So if there is not a fertilization, then inside all the bodies are gush outs because a progesterone hormone goes levels decreases and it goes to degrade the walls inside the uterus and it's expelled out from your body to the vagina. So this simple process, only this simple process, we call it as menstruation. Many people is confused what is menstruation cycle and what is menstruation. This two is different, and I think you have a little bit of idea about these two, and I would like to go through about the hormonal changes inside men's body because it's, I feel like it's important to know. And after their puberty, the sperm production they have for their entire life, but recently scientists had understand that there is a measurable decline in fertility and their sperm production declines after the age 35. So inside their reproductive system also, the hormonal changes are there. Testosterone and the ABP hormone and other hormones really helps to produce their sperm production also. So I think you get a quite bit insight about these hormonal changes, and it's the natural process and always admired. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dana. I think everyone can agree that you explained everything so in a very detailed manner. Now we have Janani over here. She's going to elaborate on where women should reach out for support during menstruation and how the youth should change their perspective regarding menstruation. Over to you, Jana.
Thank you so much, Tavisha. Hello, everyone. I'm Janani, and I'm here to share some knowledge about the organizations that support menstruation in Sri Lanka. So SCWEC, the SARC Chamber Women Entrepreneurs Council, is committed to the development of women entrepreneurship in South Asia. As we all know, there are plenty of products dedicated to cater to the sanitary needs of women. Whilst those of us seated at the lap of luxury use these exquisite products, a majority are left to be inconvenienced with the use of unhygienic methods. Thus, the SARC Chamber Women Entrepreneurs Council propagated a project produces sanitary napkins with the aid of biodegradable material that aims to cater to women of low income in Sri Lanka. They initiated a new local affordable pad that was inspired by Indian social entrepreneur Arunachalam Muruganandam's low-cost pad making machine. It goes by the name of Sinindu, which means soft. Sinindu is an organic pad sells in Sri Lanka at a third of the cost of competitors, which is just 60 rupees for a packet. They have just introduced the machine to Velikada prison, where female inmates will be able to make their own pads and plan to expand the operation to other communities in Sri Lanka and eventually to Nepal and Bangladesh. Next, we have the Arkha Initiative. The Arkha Initiative is a grassroots organization that provides tangible and practical support on issues pertaining to sexual and reproductive health in Sri Lanka. So far, they have initiated 3 projects that support menstruation in Sri Lanka. The first one is the Sustainable Sanitation Project, which focuses on period poverty in Sri Lanka and also addresses the issue of reusable sanitary pads to unprivileged women in all 25 districts of the country. These sessions include an educational program on sexual reproductive health, where safe spaces are created for conversation and questions on pertinent topics. The second initiative is the virtual Arca circles. The Arca Initiative has created a virtual community to create a safe space for young people to have conversation on difficult and taboo topics such as sexually transmitted diseases, contraception, and menstruation. These sessions equip individuals with the tools needed to navigate their sexual reproductive health and eventually bridge the knowledge gaps and reduce stigma around menstruation and its aspects. Lastly, they initiated the project Aditi with a primary goal to make sanitary pads more affordable. Similar to South Chamber Women Entrepreneurs Council, the Arca Initiative making an effort to produce the most affordable sanitary pads on market at present, so that all women can menstruate safely and with dignity. And next we have the Unicef South Asian region. UNICEF Regional Office for South Asia works in 8 countries in South Asia to save children's lives, defend their rights, and help them to fulfill their potential. Under the Sustainable Development Goal 6, UNICEF strives to provide access to water, sanitation service, and improving hygiene practices. Over the past years, UNICEF took initiatives such as reducing levy on imported sanitary pads, implementing safe women-friendly sanitation space in schools, and providing self-learning materials on adolescents, sexual and reproductive health. And finally, we have the PAD project. The PAD project is a US-based NGO that partners with local organizations and grassroots NGOs to fund the placement of PAD machines, implement washable pad programs, and run menstrual hygiene management workshops in communities around the world. The PAD project's mission is to create and cultivate local and global partnership to end period stigma and to empower women worldwide. The PAD project has already placed 9 semi-automated pad machines in Sri Lanka and India, and going to implement washable pad programs in the near future. So, well, now we saw different organizations and NGOs around the globe are working towards a goal of empowering women by resolving the issues pertaining to menstrual health and hygiene. And now here we are together as the Resolvers movement of APID and taking an initiative as a youth to break this stigma. So there's a well-known Chinese proverb that says, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And we believe that confronting this taboo in our society starts with a small step of changing our perspective towards menstruation as a youth. Youth is a hope of future and who has the courage to build a better world. As young people, we should be keen on breaking this stigma in order to shape a world that normalizes periods. Everywhere, girls are being taught from young age that periods should be kept private. And are the things we keep to ourselves usually out of shame? Many women and parents are too embarrassed to talk about periods even with their own families. The Arkha Initiative states that here in Sri Lanka, 30 to 40 old moms don't even know how to tell their children what menstruation is. And according to Unicef, in parts of India and Nepal, cultural taboo means menstruating women and girls are banished from their house at night and putting them at risk. 1 in 3 girls in South Asia miss school during their periods, and in Sri Lanka, the figure is even higher. More than half of the adolescents responding to a UNICEF study in 2015 did not want or weren't allowed to go to school during their periods, while 37% miss 1 or 2 school days each month. For most, fear of staining and discomfort are the main reason for not going to school. So why should a girl miss out on her studies just because of periods? Why should we be ashamed to talk about just a normal biological process? Why as girls we should feel that absolute panic when we spot a blood stain on our pants? Why? We all felt some sort of shame surrounding period. The rooted silence surrounding periods is putting lives at risk. If the taboo isn't acknowledged and broken, women will continue to suffer and feel ashamed by one of the most natural processes in the world. Normalizing period starts with more conversation. Normalize period conversation with your friends. Let's talk about periods proactively without shame. I also would like to mention my last words in Tamil. So if I were to say this in Tamil, மாதவிடாய் என்பது எமது உடலில் நடைபெறும் ஒரு உயிரியல் செயல்முறை. அதை பற்றி வெட்கம் அடைவதற்கு எதுவும் இல்லை. ஆகவே பீரியட் அல்லது மாதவிடாய் பற்றி பேசும்போது ஒருபோதும் தயங்க வேண்டாம். If your friend is having a period and if she's going through a hard time with it, be empathetic towards them and support them as human. With that being said, I would now like to invite Resolver Harish to talk about how can we support women during their menstruation.
Thank you, Janani. First of all, that I'm certain that this session has provided us with a better knowledge of menstruation and its various elements. And to start off with the support-related matters, one of the major reasons why menstruation is a taboo and menstruation hygiene is neglected in gender is basically gender inequality, where unequal rights given to men and women result in women's voices being ignored within the household or the communities, where they cannot speak out to, or feel shy or embarrassed to speak out to men regarding the menstruation and also related to their topic or their understanding of the knowledge based on it. So one of the major reasons are poor education or poor understanding or knowledge of what basically happens behind the menstruation. And in order to overcome those failures, basically, is to have proper education or having a awareness sort of sessions regarding, while conducting seminars or workshops would be beneficial for everyone to get a deep knowledge of what women are undergoing during this period. And also, what are in the other side of the support system that we are looking into is that is to empower women, empowerment, encourage women to become more socialized and more open, and also to ask doubts or just have a free and open conversation about menstruation, which helps to ignore or just destroy the misconceptions that women have basically. And also the other related materials are just as, we are glad to have certain initiatives taking place to provide free sanitary materials to all the rural areas across the country and across the whole world, where in the rural areas some of the people have very basic income and where they cannot afford to buy sanitary materials. So these type of initiatives can be helpful provided to have a better understanding and better encouragement towards women empowerment. Thereby, they cannot use their own clothes as their sanitary materials, which are harmful and not hygienic enough. And to conclude my speech, I suppose now is the moment to break the chain of all the stereotype of the taboo-related elements of menstruation and to recognize that this is just a natural occurrence happening within every woman. Thank you. And I hand over to Tavisha.
Thank you so much, Harish. I'm sure that all these people will take steps in the right direction. After everything you've said, I hope they will do the right thing. And now we will listen to a few more opinions of people. We have Natasha and Shalita sharing their thoughts.
Can we replay with the music, please? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Experiences. So when we thought times when we felt like we couldn't get out of bed to go to that hospital, we thought everyone is going through this. Why am I just right? Older I've got conversations I've had with my girlfriends, the deeper I've understood that our experiences are unique, and had we had these conversations earlier, we would have found solutions for our bodies much sooner. And so I encourage you all to have these conversations with women around you. And I thank you for starting this conversation and destigmatizing periods and menstruation. Approach this. It's not something to be ashamed or afraid of. It's a very
So hello guys, I'm Sharita. So I just give you my thoughts about menstruation for kids, and especially how in the society, special menstruation or there being something that right? And I think that makes it unfair and harder for all of them to talk about something that's natural, right? All around the world, the acknowledge the fact that this is something natural and it's not something that's taboo or that's from one. And I think we all should rise up and spread awareness that menstruation is something that should be normalized in this country.
All right, guys. I'm sorry if you couldn't hear the video. I'll be playing it again. I'm really sorry.
Many of us, I think, didn't get the memo that we all have unique experiences. So when we felt cramps, when we felt like we couldn't get out of bed to go to that basketball game, we thought everyone is going through this. Why am I just being a crybaby? The older I've got, the more conversations I've had with my girlfriends, the deeper I've understood that our experiences are unique. And had we had these conversations earlier, we would have found solutions for our bodies much sooner. And so I encourage you all to have these conversations with women around you. And I thank Resolvers for starting this conversation and the destigmatization of periods and of menstruation, of approaching this subject as not something to be ashamed or afraid of is a very important first step.
So hello guys, I'm Shalita. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts about menstruation or periods, and especially how in the society, especially menstruation, or they think it's something taboo, right? And I think that makes it unfair and harder for all the women out there to talk about something that's natural, right? It's all around the world to acknowledge the fact that this is something natural and it's not something that's taboo or something that's frowned upon. And I think we all should rise up and spread awareness that menstruation is something that should be normalized in this country and all around the world.
All right, guys, we have Apari and Diniti expressing their thoughts next.
Hi, I'm Apari, and as a member of the female sex, I experience my period on a monthly basis. Although often complained about, the period cycle is actually gifted by nature in order to perpetuate our entire species. Although bleeding throughout for 3 to 4 days is no easy task, and many women experience different levels of emotional and physical pains within this time, it is important to know that it is scientifically proven that these levels of pains differ from one woman to another and should not be compared. Therefore, next time you say, oh, it's not that bad, I don't get it that bad, to another woman, always think scientifically and empathetically and refrain from comparing one woman's pain to another. Thanks.
It's important to know that menstruation is natural, and each and every woman is experiencing the same thing once a month. There is no need to cover hygienic products as if they are illegal. This period stigma makes people uncomfortable when seeing hygienic products or when talking about menstruation, even though sanitation is a basic need of a girl. People should not refuse to talk about menstruation because it is the process that brought them to life. In order to reduce menstruation stigma, we have to openly communicate about our thoughts, problems, and experiences so that everyone can learn.
Guys, next we have Tamusha and Dimitri expressing their opinions regarding this topic.
Hi everyone. Today Resolvers Club has chosen a very timely topic, which is menstruation. This is widely known as menses, periods, or the cycle. Let me start by asking you a very simple question. All the girls who are listening, how many of you feel shy or ashamed to buy a packet of pads or tampons from a supermarket or from a shop? And all the men who are listening, how many of you all are willing to buy pads or tampons for your daughter, for your girlfriend, for your friend, or for your wife? Think about it. What is menstruation? Menstruation is basically a part of women's reproductive system which makes the woman ready for possible pregnancy. So why are we ashamed of it? Guys, this is a time that girls go through pain, mood changes, mood swings. Sometimes they go through eating disorders. This is a time that they need your support. And girls, this is a very natural function of your body. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Food for thought, guys. Thank you.
This looks like what she wants. Puta? Oh, hey, Auntie. Hi. Oh, you're buying something for your wife, I see. Oh, no. This is not for my wife. I'm still dating her. This is for my sister. Shouldn't you be ashamed of being a man and getting something for your sister? I don't think there's a reason for men to be ashamed of getting the women in their life the necessities they need. I mean, you know how difficult it is for women in general in this country to get such important stuff. And come on, I'm sure such a fine woman as yourself knows how important these are for women, regardless of who buys it for them. True, very true. Thank you, Auntie, thank you so much. I knew you'd understand. Anyway, I'm just gonna go and pay for this. I'm sure you just didn't come here to this area which is no longer important to you. So I'll see you later around the neighborhood. Bye.
All right, guys, now with that, we've come to an end of our videos. So I would like to thank everyone who joined this video campaign. All thanks to these wonderful and talented people who I'm sure will go ahead in fighting and standing up for the rightful causes they believe. Thank you very much. And now I would like to thank Nadisha Paulis for her insight, guidance, and vast knowledge, which would help our young people for the future of this humongous enterprise that is a society, and for dedicating her time to create progression and ammunition in the positive direction for this wonderful cause. Now, I would like to thank everyone present here today for this marvelous campaign. I hope you all would take this direction and cognizance gain through this discussion and better yourselves, and will be an instrumental in creating wholesome environment for yourselves and your peers. We would like to thank APIT for providing the necessary resources to make this event a success. A special thanks goes to our resolvers and our guidance for putting in the work, for being so passionate, cohesive, and congruous to bring about change and positive establishment to create a comfortable arena to go ahead in our personal and professional lives. Thank you very much, everyone. If anyone would want to reach us, you can contact us through our emails. You can contact us through resolvers@apit.lk or contact us through our direct line. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I want to wish all the resolvers, young resolvers, they're getting involved in resolving social talks, making a positive impact, and indeed keeping the world in a safe place. So thank you very much, everyone. This brings us to another end of another session of resolvers' attempts to make the awareness. So with that, we will end the session and we will meet back again in another session with all the resolvers on board. Come join us. We will be able to make a very nice change for Sri Lanka, and not only Sri Lanka, to the world as well. So take good care of all of you, and good night from here.